better.
That's very little. Hey, Isaac's here. Yay. Okay.
All right.
How you feeling? How's the?
Feeling better? Feeling better?
Well, I'll stick around if Nancy can. I'll stick around. Just so you know, since from the end, I'm going to check my Chuck is giving us the story. I put house left here, and then after he's done, he's going to go away.
Okay. I'm not old enough to get cars. Very cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc.
You see? All right. Well, I'll swap. I can stay here.
I think there's at least, I can at least wipe down the chalk here.
Well, if you need to be there, that's okay.
Well, Phil, no, we should be there too. We should be enough.
Okay, that's cool.
But, they're just not here yet. That's fine.
He comes on a little later.
You're the pianist today? Oh, nice. Nice.
Hal wasn't able, and Nick wasn't able, and Hal wasn't able, so I'm not to be.
Oh, okay.
I'm some sort of.
You'll be fine.
Excuse me. How are you doing?
You know, like this morning, I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm like, why is she not coming out of bed? You know, like weird stuff like that.
First off, I'm drinking a bottle of wine. I was like, uh-oh. Oh, but yeah, what, 19 years?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. And then I'm like, I don't know how to mix the laments and make the food. What am I supposed to do all the time? So I actually got on my bike and I rode my bike. I'm like, okay, let's start a new. Well, here I am on my stationary bike with my coffee. Because it's
Smoking. Yeah, I feel great.
look how far I've gone.
Oh, new scenery here. Well,
Thanks.
how did it go? Of course it was awful, but
It was. But they were so amazing.
Yeah.
The vet who came, she was so good and so patient. And then when they go to take her out of the house, she comes in, she has this basket, has a cat bed. She lifts her up, she puts her on the
Yeah, yeah, you're free.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. Whatever your faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, whatever your journey has been, we welcome you, the whole of you. My name is Rob Willig, and I'm the lay leader today. Our Sunday services are as diverse as we are. So if you are visiting our church for the first time, please come back several times before drawing any conclusions about us. We're very nice. Newcomers and guests are always welcome to participate in any of our church activities. If we have any newcomers or guests today, we invite you to introduce yourselves. Please raise your hand and someone will bring the microphone to you. And I always say that Don just won't bring the microphone to you, he will run it to you.
Hello, we're Barbara and Phil Clark. We've actually just moved to Pittsburgh from Northern Virginia. So, yeah, our son lives, our oldest son lives here, and so we're living in the North Hills. Thank you.
Woo!
Okay.
Welcome. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. Please join us for coffee hour along with everybody else following the service out in Friendship Hall. We now take this moment to acknowledge that the land that we stand on was taken from the local indigenous people. Inspired by their culture, may we strive to become better stewards of this earth. It is good to be together, both in person and virtually.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think? Let's try that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. You see, that's the little bit of energy that gets me going and holds me up while we share time together this morning. I am Leanne Washington, and I am serving this wonderful community as its minister. We are using Soul Matters for our liturgical theme every month, and this month our theme is the gift of heritage. Today's service is the first of a series of 3. Today we're going to talk about what a heritage is, why it's relevant, and what we should do with it. And then we're going to have a service on our Unitarian heritage and then one on our Universalist heritage. So today I will be speaking more generally and also more personally about heritage and how we respond to it, what we have inherited from those who have gone before us on a number of different levels. Now, some people wonder, how is heritage different than just history? Reverend Scott Taylor offers a contrast between history and heritage that I think is a good explanation. He says, whereas history pleads, protect what we put into place, heritage urges, know the plot line of which you are a part. History is what happened. Heritage is a story still unfolding. History tends to trap us in tales about what they did. Heritage inevitably gets us talking about what we are called to do. Now, Let us join in worship.
Today's reading for the chalice lighting is, "The flaming chalice is a symbol of our faith as we join with other UU churches and fellowships in this ritual. As we share the light of this chalice in our sanctuary, we also welcome those on viewing remotely to light a chalice. We light our chalice to the adopted words of Audette Fulbright Folsom. This light we kindle is set in the lamp of our heritage. We inherit this free faith from the brave and gentle, fierce and outspoken hearts and minds that have come before us. Let us be worthy inheritors of this faith, and through our good works, pass it boldly to a new generation." Ladies and gentlemen, our opening hymn is "Rank by Rank We Again Stand," number 358 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or in spirit as you are able and join in singing our opening hymns. Number 358, the words will also appear on the screen.
I need somebody to read to. Oh. And the doggy. All right, we're getting a few up here. All right, that's what I like to see. Now the service today is about heritage. And who can tell me what you think heritage means? Anybody have a guess? Give me a thought. What do you think heritage means?
Your background.
Your background, where you come from, traditions, culture. It means parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and I even have a little surprise for you. Don't get worried. All right, I have my special shirt on today. And I am a grandparent to 5 grandchildren, all here in the area, which is one of my delights. So today we're going to talk a little bit. The story is we all have a heritage. You have a heritage, you have a heritage, you have a heritage. And after the service, if you get a chance, ask your parents about your heritage, and they'll be able to tell you a little more about that, where you're from. So bear with me because I don't have a regular book. We kind of did this a little bit differently here. All of us have a history where people did great things, and you can see the picture book up there on the screens. And most of us come from countries where there once were kings and queens. Some we may remember, and some we don't know. But we all have ancestors who lived a long time ago. We all have special traditions and a place from whence we came. And people from the past gave most of our last names. We all have a heritage, yes, that is true, and it doesn't matter if your skin is black, white, yellow, brown, red, or blue. We all have special languages so that we can all speak. And everyone celebrates holidays that make certain days unique. We all eat delicious foods prepared in various ways. And all cultures have music to help us dance through the days. So this is part of our heritage. We all have traditional clothes that honor our rich roots. And many cultures have musical instruments like drums, guitars, and flutes. We all have a heritage, yes, that's true. And it doesn't matter if your skin is black, white, yellow, brown, red, purple, or blue. Thank you. Did you know that if you travel, there is so much that you can explore? We can see people using their talents to make things you've never seen before. Whether we travel to the north, to the south, the east, or the west, we can all explore our heritage and see the world at its best. You might learn certain customs to tell you how things are done. Or you could see different activities that are done just for fun. We all have a heritage. Yes, that is true. And once again, it doesn't matter if your skin is black, white, yellow, brown, red, purple, or blue. Thank you. Do you know what else is amazing about you and about me? I'll tell you. If you look at our insides, we're all the same through and through. Even though we may be different colors with different looks on our faces, we are all just still human beings who happen to come from different places. We can learn about each other and the different things that we do. And we could share what we have in common, both in me and in you. Because we all have a heritage, yes, that is true. It doesn't matter if your skin is black, white, yellow, brown, red, purple, or by sharing our heritage with each other, we can learn from the start how to respect different people and keep love in our hearts. And for all of you out there and all of you here, love is what this church is all about. Thank you. And now we will sing the children out to their class.
Good morning. I'm Ruth Horwitz from the Lay Pastoral Care Team. During our service, we create this sacred space for sharing within our community. It is a time to share significant life passages with the congregation so that you can be held in loving care. I'll be reading the joys and sorrows this morning, and Chris Hill will be placing a stone representing each joy or sorrow in the sand. The sand represents our congregation, supporting our sorrows and lifting up our joys. Today we have a joy from Paul and Diane Sims. We are pleased to be hosting a visit from Paul's son, Andy, and his wife, Darlene. It's Darlene's first visit to our lovely state, so we are doing lots of driving around. To Paul and Diane, we say, we share in your joy. Two joys from Karen and Brian Franco. I'm unable to join today because we are in Maryland celebrating our nephew Jake's bar mitzvah. And tomorrow is our 29th wedding anniversary. To Karen and Brian, we say we share in your joy. A joy from Sam Dietrich. We've been gone the past few weeks, and it was for a good reason. Michael and I had our wedding. We just got back from the first leg of our honeymoon, and we will be spending the next week taking day trips and enjoying time with our humans, sending some love from us. To Sam and Michael, we say, we share in your joy. We now place one more stone in the sand for all the joys and sorrows that exist in our hearts but remain unspoken today. From far and near, please say with me our caring words. Let us hold in our circle of caring each person here. Let us hold in our hearts those who are unable to be with us today. Let us find those we moved on. Let us find comfort in knowing that we are not alone.
Part of our heritage is the practice of meditation. This morning, we are going to engage in a quiet meditation. No background music, no words guiding you in imagery, just the silence, such as it is. Now, for those of you who are new to quiet meditation, we realize there's only so much quiet. That is, there will be noises. People will cough, someone will squirm, a book will fall, a child will yelp, A dog will bark. In these moments, just acknowledge, dog barked, nice, and go back to your quiet meditation. When thoughts pop into your head, as inevitably they will, just think, nice, shh, I'm going back to quiet meditation now. So I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. There's no magic posture. Breathing well, being well supported, those are good things. This will go about 2 minutes, so it may feel for some of you like forever, but it won't be, I promise. You close your eyes or find a point of focus, like our flame or a spot on the floor. We're going to take 3 deep breaths together, and then just be quiet. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now slowly bring yourself back to this time and space and open your eyes.
This is a promise that the God of the Israelites made to them, spoken by Moses as translated by the New Living Translators. The Lord your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give you when he made a vow to your ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns that you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget the Lord, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must respect the Lord your God and fulfill your mission.
There'll be houses that you didn't build, and cisterns that you did not dig, from which you will draw water. And there will be fruit trees from which you will eat that you did not plant. I think that's a pretty good picture of what heritage means. Heritage originally was synonymous with inheritance of material goods. Your heritage was the land that you inherited from your parents or your grandparents or other family members who designated you to be the recipient. As time went on, heritage was expanded to include not only material things, but traits and tendencies and tradition and culture. Anything that we feel that maybe the people who went before us had something to do with. You know, you maybe inherited your grandmother's laugh, or your father's interest in beekeeping. In the cultural sense, it is the continuity from one generation to another. It is a way of forming an identity. Heritage may or may not coincide with ethnic identity or skin color or talents and abilities. We know behind some of these things there's good old-fashioned science, like we now understand things about gene pools and DNA and how certain groups of people develop certain characteristics that are then passed on either through that DNA or through the cultural, social venue in which they grow up. The way the adults pattern themselves, the younger ones mimic. They learn how to see the world by the way the older ones interact with it. So heritage expresses itself in many ways and in many identities. A church community has a heritage. We have things like our 7 principles and our 6 sources, our commitment to reason, our commitment to building a community together, and how we learn from those who went before us how to be welcoming, how to value social justice action, how coming together like this is wonderful for our individual spiritual growth. And we think a large part of the reason we want to grow spiritually is so that we can go out into the world and make a positive difference. That is part of our heritage as Unitarian Universalists. Here in this church on this property, there were people who were astute enough to come together and say, hey, let's create a Unitarian Universalist church here. And who eventually bought this property and said, hey, wouldn't it be fun to turn a dairy barn into a church? Yeah, let's do that. And we have members in our congregation who connect to the early members of our congregation in the care for our grounds and in the care for our building. This is part of our heritage here. And our heritage also includes the experiences that the congregation has had over the years with ministers, with each other, with their relationship to the Unitarian Universalist Association. And so all of that is part of our heritage, some of which we want to embrace wholeheartedly, and some of which we'd probably just rather look the other way. Regardless, heritage it is. Now, why is heritage important? It's important because it helps shape our identity, and it becomes part of who we are. It is part of how we express ourselves. Our heritage provides clues to our past. It helps us understand how we have evolved. It also helps us consider what our resources are and how do we want to use them to fulfill the mission of our congregation. Heritage is the keystone of our culture. It can limit us, it can shape us, or it can give us wings. Or more likely, a combination of all 3 of those things. Now, what should we do about this heritage that we have? Well, the first thing we should do is understand it. And I have a personal and poignant to me story I'd like to share. And so if I get a little checked up or teary-eyed, just give me a moment. We'll keep going eventually. I'm that kind of minister, sorry. So my mother of blessed memory was a loving and protective parent. I never questioned her love for me, or that it was unconditional. She made many personal sacrifices so that her children could have what they needed to enjoy life, to fit in at school, to take advantage of the opportunities of adventure and personal growth that came our way. And that meant sacrifices of time and sometimes energy and sometimes money. She did those things. And that's why it was so difficult to understand why she was so critical sometimes. How she noticed the smallest and what I thought inconsequential imperfections in her children, especially me, her firstborn overachiever. She could be downright cruel about it. It wasn't just with her family, however. At the church where she was a devoted member and where she invested so much time and energy, she developed a reputation for being someone who always noticed and often took care of, after pointing it out to everyone, those pesky details and imperfections that others overlooked. So much so that it was alluded to by the pastor of her church in his eulogy of her. Fortunately, I was able to take the pulpit for a moment during her memorial service, and I was able to share the following. I shared that I had confronted my mother decades ago about why she was so critical of me and of others, and of the world in general. She told me that making critical comments and asking probing questions was her way of making sure that I was safe and on a good path. That she feared that my being a single woman in a large city, Washington, D.C. at the time, I would be lonely, and that I might spend too much money and not be able to retire comfortably. Because she heard about how much it costs to live in the city. And she saw on the periphery things that I purchased with my money, things that she considered luxuries, unnecessary, perhaps a waste of financial resources. She told me that she thought that when she was pointing these things out, that she was helping other people be their best selves, that she was trying to help them confront what could go wrong, what doesn't work so well, and make them ask of themselves whether they were committed to the path that they were on. I was blown away. It never dawned on me. I just thought she was mean. I recognized in her some insecurity, some fear from which all of this was coming. It never dawned on me that in her mind, she was doing her part to make the world a better place. She didn't understand the life of a Washington, D.C. attorney. She didn't understand the money I made or how much it cost to live there. It scared her. And as the proud and strong woman that she was, she chose critique over admitting her fears and discussing them directly with me. I am now able to be grateful, and I was grateful to be able to share that to the very large group of people who came to her memorial service. And I saw many thoughtful expressions and nodding heads when I shared with them this new perspective that I had gotten several decades ago on where my mother was coming from and what it meant. Though sometimes difficult to be around, I knew that she loved me deeply. And I chose to learn a lesson from that and not to repeat her style of caring when I raised my own daughter. So the deep, unconditional love I took from her and applied that to my own relationship with my daughter. The critiquing everything to find out whether I was okay and to make me tell the story and assure her, not so much. Not so much. But I am now grateful for having had that experience. And that's the second thing that we can do. We can look at our heritage, both that part that we embrace and feel makes us stronger and brings joy to us, and that part that we'd really rather have not gone through, that part that we're maybe a little embarrassed about, that part that we'd like to walk away from. We can be thankful for all of that. And gratitude is one of the most powerful spiritual practices, and you will hear that from me over and over again because it is a touchstone in my ministry, no matter where I am. It's the practice of intentionally feeling and communicating appreciation for the people, the circumstances, material possessions, and spiritual gifts that have manifested in our life. We will investigate this assertion I'm about to make much more thoroughly and deeply in November, but here's the assertion for today. Scientifically, the positive effects of gratitude have been proven for a variety of purposes, such as physical health and well-being, mental health and well-being, and emotional health and well-being. And the benefit doesn't depend on whether you are expressing gratitude for what you consider a blessing or for an opportunity to learn from the mistakes of others, or even for the opportunity of turning desperate, dire, and negative circumstances into something life-affirming and abundant. So now that we've learned about our heritage and we are expressing gratitude for it, mixed bag as though it may be, what do? I suggest that what we do is we use it as a touchstone for what we are going to do together as a community here and now and in the future. Here's another personal story. You know, I didn't know where I was going with all of this last night. I'll just say. Turns out I'm going to share a lot of personal stories with you today. My paternal grandmother, my father's mother, was a teacher and a public school administrator who managed to bust through every barrier to a lifelong teaching career that was laid before her. In her day, married women didn't teach. You were single, you got married, you were no longer welcome to teach. Pregnant women couldn't teach. That was unheard of, but she did it. And in her day, a woman raising children wouldn't be given a job. But she was. She broke through all those barriers and became the first woman vice principal in her school district in Alabama. That's part of my heritage I embrace. Oddly to me, she was enamored with genealogy. Perhaps because her mother died shortly after giving her birth, and her stepmother was, by all accounts, cold and indifferent to her stepdaughters. And her father, who was a country doctor, was very rarely home, because in those days, country doctors made visits to the homes of their patients. And so he was often not present in the household. Anyway, I spent many a hot summer as a child scouring graveyards for evidence of dead ancestors with her. And in those days, we had pimento cheese sandwiches and Vienna sausages. Yeah, that's part I don't particularly embrace about my heritage. So to answer the obvious question, yes, I'm a member of George Washington's family tree. He never had children that we know of, but my grandmother traced our family tree to George Washington's mother. In fact, I am related to his mother, Mary Ball Washington, on both sides of my family. My parents are cousins by degree, for, I don't know, many degrees, but they are cousins, part of the same large family tree. Now, not being enough for my grandmother, she once proudly told me with a puffed out chest and a gleam in her eye that I was related to Charlemagne, a member of the Carolingian dynasty who was crowned emperor of the Romans by the papacy in 800 AD. Yeah. Ooh. Then she smiled, leaned in, turned her smile into a serious expression. And she looked at me intently and she said, "Don't let it go to your head. That and 50 cents will get you a cup of coffee." Now, that was a long time ago when she told me that, because now $3.50 will get you a cup of coffee. 50 cents won't even pay the tax. We mustn't let the accomplishments or the deficiencies of our ancestors define us or limit us. What we must do is live our lives with integrity and purpose. We must discard that which has been detrimental in the past, nurture what has been beneficial, and take to heart the lessons that our ancestors have given us. Blessed is the person who plants trees under which she will never sit. Let us as a congregation bless this world by planting here and now a culture of welcome and love and commitment to justice. Let us consider creating programs, making contributions that perhaps we may not fully enjoy in our lifetime, but will be the heritage that we leave those who follow us. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. Please rise in body or in spirit as you are willing and able, and join in singing our responsive hymn, Forward Through the Ages, number 114 in the gray hymnal. The words will also appear on our screen.
Now I'm nervous. I'm sharing the stage with a descendant of Charlemagne. I'll do my best. Please join me in affirming our mission statement. By building a loving religious community that nourishes the spirit, celebrates life, and cherishes the connectedness of all things, we will transform ourselves and our world. Generosity is a spiritual practice, ladies and gentlemen, one that enlarges our heart and lightens the spirit. For no matter how much or how little we have, in the sharing of it, both the one who gives and the one who receives is blessed. As an independent Unitarian Universalist congregation, we depend on your financial support to pay our staff, to maintain our beautiful campus, and to offer meaningful worship services and religious exploratory programs. We appreciate your generosity, and we will be good stewards of your contributions. That we promise. If you are here with us today in person, collection baskets will be passed, or you can take your offering to the basket in the back. If you're joining us virtually, you can make your offering by mailing a check to the church or by going to the uucnh.org website, finding the link in the upper right-hand corner that says Donate, and making a contribution. If you would like to make a separate donation for our Share the Plate recipient this month, Hearth, please do so by placing your donation in one of the blue envelopes. If you are visiting for the first time, feel free to let the basket pass. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join with me in dedicating the offering. You will see the words on your screen. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Please rise in body and spirit, or as you are able, or as you are willing and able, and join in singing our closing hymn, We Are, number 1051 in the teal hymnal. The words will also appear on our screens. We invite those of you who have joined us remotely to extinguish your chalice as we do with ours. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
So speaking of Charlemagne, in the next two services, we will be exploring some of the values of Unitarianism and Universalism. And we'll be touching on some of the individual ancestors who have helped to mold this new entity that was created in the 1960s when Unitarianism and Universalism joined together. So I'd like to share some words with you to help you sort of keep in mind the purpose of this exploration. It comes from Clinton Lee Scott, and it's one of the readings in our gray hymnal, number 565. It talks about prophets. So prophets aren't people who see in the future. That's a common misunderstanding of what a prophet is, particularly within the religious context. A prophet is a person who speaks truth to power, who points out the larger picture, that points out the effects of what maybe some of our institutions are doing that have the unintended, unnoticed negative consequences to people on the margins or certain sectors of our society. So a prophet may, in that process, predict that if we continue to go on this road, this is what's going to happen, for sure. But is not a seer, is not someone who looks into a crystal ball and tells you what's going to happen in the future. I explain that because this particular reading is in reference to prophets, particularly those who have gone before us. Always it is easier to pay homage to prophets than to heed the direction of their vision. It is easier blindly to venerate the saints than to learn the human quality of their sainthood. It is easier to glorify the heroes in our heritage than to give weight to their examples. To worship the wise is much easier than to profit by their wisdom. Great leaders are honored not by adulation, but by sharing their insights and values. Grandchildren of those who stoned the prophet sometimes gather up the stones to build the prophet's monument. Always, it is easier to pay homage to prophets than to heed the direction of their vision. Turns out that we're trying to develop a culture here of hospitality, which includes our coffee hour. And we're having a little bit of a bump in the road in that regard. I invite Lindsay Scott to come up and share her thoughts about how we can better live into the culture of hospitality as expressed through coffee hour on Sunday mornings.
I am doing coffee hour today, and this is not the first time I've done coffee hour in recent months. And the reason for that is that people aren't signing up for coffee hour. We have enough people that come to church that if everybody signed up and 2 sets of people do it every week, you would only have to do it once a year. But you may be saying coffee hour is hard. Coffee hour isn't hard. There are instructions, but if you feel a little uncomfortable, you might not know how to do it, sign up and put a star by your name, and then someone who feels more confident about coffee hour can sign up with you and help you in the process. It's not hard. If we all sign up, if you haven't done one since July 1st, please sign up. We have sheets out there for October, November, and December. So you can get your names up there. If you need help, put a star and let someone who's been experienced doing coffee hour do it with you to help you. Thank you.
So once again, I'm going to do something I hadn't planned for. So, heads up, listen. Coffee hour can just be coffee. But this minister loves food. It's how I keep my girlish figure. It's how I know that people are connecting authentically, because we will say things to each other when we're eating food. We will help each other make a plate. We will hold a person's coffee when their kid comes up and says, I need your attention right now. So here's the thing I'd like to institute: a change in how we think about coffee hour. I'll write this up, we'll put it in the e-news, I'll mention it in a communication or two, but this is breaking news right here, folks. I'd like for us to think about coffee hour as something we all contribute to every Sunday. Here's what I mean. 2 people sign up to set up coffee and to break down, and the rest of us bring something from home. Doesn't have to be big, a hunk of cheese, an apple. Someone else brings a sleeve of crackers. Really, not a whole lot. But if you take that hunk of cheese and you slice that apple and you sit it next to the crackers, well, voila, right? If you had a party on Friday night and you've got 1/4 of a pan of something, bring it. Doesn't have to be so pretty packaged. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Bring what you've got. If you just went grocery shopping and you're looking around, I don't really have anything, but I have a bag of chips. Bring the bag of chips. This isn't something that needs to be financially onerous. And nobody's going to be taking down names to see who brought and who didn't bring. But we will know when we look at the table whether we have all taken seriously the idea that we want to commune with each other after service is over food. I have seen this culture change happen. I have witnessed how people were much more willing to come early and set up the coffee and set up the tables and to receive the offerings, the food offerings of fellow congregants, and sort of sort them out on the table and make sure there's a fork for this and a knife for that and a spoon for the other thing. And then at the end, we're all grown-ups. If we dirtied it, put it in the dishwasher. Don't make it be the job of the people who set up to have to go around and wash everything, right? And that is so easy to do and can be so joyous. I once brought this much of a cake. I had a sheet cake, I had a party, had that much. And on Sunday morning I went, oh, look at that. Okay, well, that's what I'm to go. They made, I think, like 8 pieces, little squares out of it. People enjoyed it. Half a bag of Milano cookies. If you have Milano cookies, bring them. But I keep a bowl of fruit. So I could grab an apple, a couple of bananas, an occasional orange. That's all I bring. But when each one, look around this room, if each one of you brought one little item like that, we would have a table full. So let's try that. Let's learn from our ancestors about what it used, people used to come from miles around in covered buggies and have a whole day at church with picnics and potlucks because that's what it took to come to church. So let's take that and modernize it and just bring a pocket full of almonds if that's what you've got. May we remember that we never walk into the world alone. We stand on the shoulders of brave and generous ones who have gone before us. We hold memories of dear ones in our hearts that keep us connected to our center and to the center of this congregation. May we make this our most important work, to remember that who we are does not end at the edges of our own skin and is not dependent on the past. We make of this life what we will, and in the process, create a heritage for those who come after us. Let's make it a good one. Now, go in peace after you enjoy the postlude.
so they wanted to get over for fear they might